there. I've been writing a few things, and so it's influencing where I've been going with this. I mean, it wasn't specifically about self-love, but the more I was thinking about it, the more I was thinking that part of self-love is a recognition of the miracle of you. And so I just tried to give a little context to what that means, what that really is. And some of that started with, if you saw the link I put in before the show, and I'll play it again, I'll try to post it again. Mellymel, AnyBeat user Mellymel, does illustrations for NASA and other organizations, and she had this illustration of the history of the universe told as kind of the Big Bang to now as matter evolved. And that's, I love thinking massively to try to, it just kind of makes the miracle of now just seem, it amplifies it in this crazy way. Party asks, what's the difference between surrendering to the flood and going with the flow? Ooh, what a great question. Wow, that is a great question. So, surrendering to the flood, go with the flow. And this is one of the most misunderstood concepts. Whenever I'm talking about, float more, steer less, people often go, what do you mean, just do nothing? And so the flood that I was talking about is the progression of mind, the progression of humanity, the progression of progress, and humanity's desire to achieve, build, and conquer. And if you look at the other animals on the planet, and the general tendency between most species is they fall into a balance. If you have too many bobcats in an environment, then they run out of food and the population comes down. If you have a whole bunch of wheat somewhere here, then a bunch of field mice, the field mice population goes up, and then the bobcat population goes up until it all gets back into balance again. And nature is, this stasis, not stasis, I take that back. Nature is this balance, always moving. There is no stasis. It's always a flow, a cycle, a black-white, life-death, light-dark, snow-sun. And the flood of humanity bulldozes through that. Humanity tends to have this, I guess, a God complex. We like to shape our environment to suit our needs. So the flow is the way that nature finds balance, finds harmony, and feeling that harmony in ourselves, which I believe is an expression of connection, harmony, and love. The human flood is towards progress, victory, acquisition, achievement. It's very ego-based. It's very much about climbing a mountain as opposed to flowing. And so this flood has a mindset that it is heading towards victory, while we don't really even know what that is, or how that feels, or if it's good, or what the consequences are. Now, it's easy to argue that that flood is actually a part of the natural system, and that just as when there are too many bobcats, they eat up all the mice, when humans act a certain way, eventually the universe will calibrate and find a way to get back in balance. You know that when for ages, human beings were uncivilized. There's a book called The Story of B. It talks about the Great Forgetting, which is actually the time period before we became civilized. And we don't have a lot of information about it, but there was this huge period of time where people lived in harmony with their environments. We migrated with herds, we moved with the seasons, and we did not develop cities or anything like that. And we kind of either don't talk about it or look down on it, like that is primitive. What we value is the conquering of nature. And so it was only when cities became, and when we started to have these huge clumps of unnatural amounts of human beings in small spaces, we started to have diseases and plagues. Because nature was doing what it does and going, whoa! And trying to get us back in balance. But we are smart. And we figure out ways to, just as, the flu bugs keep getting a little bit smarter, more evolved from the medicines that we create, so too human beings get a little bit smarter to the diseases that the earth creates to try to keep us in check. So the difference between flood and flow is harmony, flood is cutting its own path. As I say that, I recognize that it's no wonder we have a challenge trying to figure that out. It's no wonder we get confused and we feel like the flood is the flow. And we feel like that if we're not paddling as hard as we can, if we aren't building a bigger raft, if we aren't aligning with people who have big rafts, that we are missing out, we're out of the flow, that we are losing. Which is why it is so hard and so important to try to find a community of people that will support the path or the learning or the even acknowledging that there is wisdom in that Narcissus pool, that there is choices, voices that come from the heart that might be in total contradiction to the flow of prosperity and financial growth and societal. We tend to, there's a great metaphor within nature that in your body you have how many trillion cells, and each cell has a purpose that is unique and perfect, and in compared to all the the molecules of the cosmos, it's pretty amazing. These are living cells. What a gift. And some of the cells get to be part of an eye and process visual information. Some of them get to be part of bone marrow. Some of them get to be skin cells. So much of this stuff. And each cell, if they surrender to their purpose, they are part of something amazing. But if any one cell starts to think that they know what's best for the body, that what they think to be the role of the body is what every cell should do, there's a medical term for that, and that's cancer. And so when humanity falls into that trap of thinking it knows what's best for other people, for other species, for the planet itself, when we start to get out of alignment with what an individual purpose is and actually instead try to create, shape, steer, conquer, shape the world to fit our individual ego desires, we are cancerous. And time will tell how Mother Earth and our population learns to heal.